Ever since the character's very first MCU movie back in 2011, fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have expected the future of Captain America to go a certain way. It's been foreshadowed on a number of occasions, including in one particular scene in that first movie. But Avengers Endgame confirmed the Captain America mantle would continue in a rather unexpected way going forward in the franchise. In this video, we'll be talking about why the future of Captain America in the MCU isn't quite what we thought it would be. In the final scenes of the epic Avengers Endgame, Chris Evans' Steve Rogers traveled back in time to return the Infinity Stones to their rightful spots in the MCU timeline in order to keep those realities safe, and to make sure the main MCU timeline had no Infinity Stones in it for bad guys to use in the future. But rather than return to the main timeline and rejoin his fellow heroes, as he was expected to by both fans of the MCU and at least the majority of his friends, he decided to go to the 1940s and stay there to live out his happy ever after life with his one true love, Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter. A much older version of Steve then appeared, sitting on a nearby bench, having returned to that spot after living a full and happy life. At that point, Bucky Barnes held himself back and urged Sam Wilson to approach Steve, as if he knew something everyone else didn't. Maybe Steve had told him something, but that's a debate for another video. Steve passed the Captain America mantle to Sam by giving him his iconic vibranium shield. Sam was hesitant at first, but ultimately he accepted that shield. And what that means is that he has now taken over as Captain America in the MCU. But that means two things happened in that one scene regarding Captain America that we really weren't expecting. One, the manner in which Steve Rogers bowed out of the MCU was bizarre. And two, the character who will be taking on the Captain America mantle in the MCU isn't who we expected it to be. It's probably fair to say that everyone expected Rogers to get his happy ending in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He truly earned the right to go back in time to live his life with Peggy and finally get his date in that dance.
You're gonna need a rain check on that dance.
But the way he went about it just seemed out of character and, well, wrong. It would have been a lot more predictable, and indeed more in character, for Rogers to have told his fellow Avengers that he wanted to go back in time to be with his one true love.
Well, I couldn't leave my best girl.
But to do it when they were expecting him to return was actually very selfish. And that brings us to the man who will be taking over from Steve Rogers as the shield-wielding American icon, which was the other unexpected twist. Steve Rogers' oldest friend is Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes, yet it wasn't him that Steve chose to follow in his footsteps. The pair have been friends since they were kids in Brooklyn in the 1920s, and they'd regularly tell each other that they'd be buddies till the end of the line, so it's somewhat surprising that someone Steve had only known for a few years would be chosen ahead of Bucky.
I'm with you to the end of the line, pal.
Ever since Stan's character was introduced in the MCU, pretty much everyone believed he would go on to take over the role as Captain America when Chris Evans departed the franchise. We've even seen him wielding the shield on several occasions to seemingly foreshadow it. But the decision actually makes a ton of sense when you think about it and dig deeper into Bucky's arc. Created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, in the comics, Bucky was first introduced as a sidekick to Steve Rogers in Captain America Comics #1, all the way back in 1941. Although he did eventually become the Winter Soldier, it wasn't until 2008 that he took the reins as Captain America, after Rogers was shot by a brainwashed Sharon Carter and presumed dead. The request from Steve for Bucky to become the new Captain America was made prior to his apparent death, in the form of a letter to Tony Stark. And even though Steve actually turned out to be very much alive, he still personally supported Bucky as the new Cap. It did take him a while, but Bucky eventually embraced his new persona as America's hero. So why didn't the movies follow the same path? A lot of fans, or stans if you prefer, given the name of the actor who plays Bucky in the MCU, would undoubtedly have enjoyed seeing Bucky become the next live-action Captain America. But the fact is, he's forging a separate identity. Bucky is now the White Wolf.
The White Wolf has rested long enough.
A name given to him by the Wakandan people while he was there having his brain reprogrammed and rehabilitating from years of abuse at the hands of Hydra. Now, it's worth noting that there is a White Wolf character in the comics, but he doesn't have much in common with Bucky other than his name and his connection to Wakanda. His name is Hunter, and is the adopted brother of T'Challa. He worked as a mercenary for his adoptive African home, having previously been appointed by T'Chaka as the leader of the Hattusilims, Wakanda's secret police. He harbors a deep resentment for T'Challa, but still has a lot of love for Wakanda, having been adopted by the royal family since his family died in a plane crash. He first appeared on panel in 1999's Black Panther #4. Unlike Hunter, MCU Bucky has very little backstory as far as his White Wolf persona is concerned, so there's much more freedom to further develop his new alter ego. Now that the live-action franchise has its next Captain America officially lined up,
It's the Falcon!
Marvel Studios is in a position to fully portray Bucky as the White Wolf character. This, in conjunction with Sam Wilson embarking on his journey to become the next Cap, will undoubtedly be the focus of the upcoming Disney Plus series, which is currently called The Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Can you move your seat up?
No.
Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan will be reprising their roles for the series, which is expected to debut at some point within the first year of the streaming service going live. While Avengers Endgame helps to set up the new series, the current title is now somewhat confusing when you consider that the Falcon and Winter Soldier are transforming into new alter egos. But obviously that could change, and that's a discussion for a different video anyway. And that leads us to our next potential unexpected twist in the future of the MCU Captain America: the fact that it might not even be on the big screen. Captain America is a truly iconic superhero, and he's been one of the flagship stars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe since he first appeared 8 years ago.
I want this all day.
Regardless of who's playing him, or which character adopts the mantle of Cap, you absolutely think of him as a cinematic character, and not someone reduced to a television role. And that's 100% said without wanting to disrespect television as a medium or those actors who appear on it. For starters, if you're an A-list actor like Anthony Mackie and you're playing a character as iconic as Captain America, you'd expect your appearances to be saved for blockbuster movies, for exactly the same reason we'd never expect Robert Downey Jr. to appear on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Tony Stark.
You can't afford me.
Don't get us wrong, Disney obviously has the budget to pay the stars of its new service crazy money that's probably on par with what they'd earn for appearing in a movie. But that's not the point. Part of the charm of seeing characters like Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, is that it's a rare treat. We might get to see them once a year at most. Seeing Captain America on television every week isn't something we ever anticipated. And that brings us to our next point. Will Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes be part of the Avengers going forward, given that they're off on their TV-based adventures?
I hate you.
In the case of the White Wolf, it wouldn't seem too weird if he was off doing his own thing, while the likes of Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and company kept the Avengers going. But an Avengers team without Captain America, regardless of which character's using the name, just seems wrong. We're hoping Disney has plans for a closer relationship between their television shows and the movies, but that isn't guaranteed. So could we really be set for a capless Avengers? Of course, given that time travel is now very much an established concept in the MCU, there is actually a small chance that Steve Rogers could reappear in the MCU.
I could do this all day.
But again, it wouldn't exactly be in a way that we ever really anticipated. If the Avengers ever come up against a threat they're struggling to deal with going forward in the franchise, they could recruit Steve Rogers from the past. He is, after all, referred to as the man out of time.
The man out of time.
I'm not the one who's out of time.
What better way to rally a dejected group of heroes who are at a loss regarding how to defeat a powerful new foe than by having the original Captain America give them one of his iconic motivational speeches?
He's pretty good at that, right?
And then lead them into battle one more time. So, to summarize, the future of Captain America, both as a character and a concept, is very different to how we originally envisioned it being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Steve Rogers abandoned his friends to live his happy life with Peggy Carter, and while he fully deserved that, the fact that he did it without warning them was very unexpected. The person he passed the mantle on to was Sam Wilson, when a lot of people expected it to be Bucky Barnes. And the future of the character looks like it might be both on television, as opposed to in the movies, and not as part of the Avengers team, which just seems bizarre. Although those things aren't 100% confirmed at this stage. Regardless, we love Captain America, whoever happens to be using the iconic name at the time, and we can't wait to see what the future has in store. Whatever you think of Steve Rogers' choice to give his shield to Sam Wilson, it really is exciting to imagine what Anthony Mackie might do in his new role. Not least because the combination of his flight harness and his new vibranium shield could prove to be quite potent. And of course, the dynamic between him and Sebastian Stan's Bucky has the potential to develop wonderfully. Rogers could do amazing things with that shield from the ground. Just imagine what Wilson will be able to do with it from the skies once he's gotten to grips with it. Supervillains won't want to mess with him, that's for sure. Are you looking forward to seeing Sam Wilson as Captain America? Do you think we'll see Steve Rogers again in the MCU? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and make sure you like this video and subscribe to Screen Rant so you never miss our great new video uploads in the future. Stay with us until the end of the line, guys, and we'll see you next time.